Hello everyone, I'm Mark Koebrich, and this is the Lakewood City Council Candidates Forum. The goal of the forum is to present the views of the candidates for Lakewood City Council in a fair, nonpartisan setting so that you, the voters, can make an informed decision. All candidates whose names will appear on the ballot have been invited to take part in this forum. The League of Women Voters of Jefferson County is sponsoring the forum in cooperation with Lakewood 8. The views expressed here will be those of the candidates, not the views of the Jefferson County League of Women Voters or of Lakewood 8. The Jeffco League of Women Voters has provided all of the questions for the candidates. The League takes no stand in support or opposition to the candidates. Our forum is divided into 6 sections, 1 forum for mayor and 1 for each of 5 city council ward races. Each forum is about a half an hour long. This is the election forum for City Council Ward 1 in the city of Lakewood. Before we meet the candidates, here is a map of the boundaries of Ward 1.
Ward 1 covers the northwestern section of Lakewood. Its borders are roughly West 32nd Avenue, south to West Alameda Avenue, and from parts of I-70 to as far east as Wadsworth Boulevard.
Let's meet the 2 candidates for the Ward 1 seat, Charley Abel and Kira Degree. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement and 1 minute for closing comments. I'll ask as many questions as time permits, and each candidate will have the chance to respond to each question with a 2-minute limit per response. And Charley, by virtue of the fact that your last name begins with A, you get to begin, and we want you to introduce yourself and tell people why you would like to be a member of the City Council.
Thank you, Mark, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for their longtime support of Lakewood politics. 4 years ago, Ward 1 voters elected me to be their voice on City Council, to shift the focus from rampant development to developing community. I sought the Ward 1 council seat because City Council was not listening to us, and they ignored the community's vision of our hometown's future. I have spent the past 4 years listening and working to achieve your goals and those of our neighbors. My promises are not just idle words, not just aspirational thoughts. They're commitments. I do not make promises that I can't keep, and I promise to strengthen public safety. And now we have more police on the streets, and we're looking for innovative ways to attract and retain highly qualified agents. I promise to rid our elections of special interest money. As chairman of the committee that produced what's been hailed as the state's foremost campaign finance law, I have done that. I promise more open space, and by adding significant acreage to existing parks, securing new multi-use trails, and new spaces for community gardens, I have done that. I promise to build community, and by lobbying to keep Stober Elementary open, by funding school playgrounds and outdoor learning centers with pass-through grants, I have done that. By marching with teachers and educators seeking higher pay, and I did that. By restoring our annual 4th of July celebration and fireworks show, I did that. I've been accessible, I've been accountable, and I've been responsive to your concerns. I'm Charley Abel, and I want to represent you for another 4 years.
All right, Charley, thank you very much. And I should mention that we're not being rude to Kira in that typically it is ladies first, but it's by virtue of ballot position that Charley speaks first. But this is your opportunity to introduce yourself and tell us why you would like to be on the council.
Thank you. My name is Kira Degree, and I'm running for City Council to improve Lakewood's health, sustainability, and inclusivity. I grew up planning to go to medical school, and after having worked in a clinical setting for a number of years, I realized that a lot of the barriers to my patients' health weren't actually clinical issues, but were instead public policy issues. I often think back to a patient that I know and love named Maria, who had type 2 diabetes, and we did as much as we could in the clinic to help her, to get her numbers down, and we kept running into these barriers. And what we found was her, what we call social determinants of health, were actually the things that were impacting her health. So it was that she lived in a neighborhood without parks, no sidewalks, her kids didn't have after-school programs, there weren't free and reduced lunches, she lived on the side of a highway, so she was breathing in pollution, there wasn't alternative transportation infrastructure. All of these things that you don't actually think of as healthcare issues were public policy issues that were impacting her health. we all want clean air and water. We all want places to bring our kids, parks to bring our kids to, sidewalks for our kids to go to school on, you know, safe neighborhoods for to take our dogs on walks. We all want all of these things, and local government has a role to play in all of that. I've been honored in the last handful of years to work on a number of issues that are really important to this community. You know, as a director on the 5A, 5B campaign, which was a mill bond for Jeffco schools. I was a director on Lakewood's 2D campaign, which secured $12.5 million in the first year alone for parks, potholes, and police officers. And I worked with Senator Brittany Pettersen on taking major steps to address the opioid epidemic and get millions of dollars of funding for K-12 education. And I hope that you'll elect me this November so that I can keep working for the issues that matter most to this community. I'm Kira Degree.
Thank you, Kira. Nicely done. And now to our questions. All of our questions, again, provided by the League of Women Voters of Jefferson County. Charlie, this question is for you, and Kira will have the opportunity as well. What do you see as a current challenge for the city of Lakewood, and what would you do to overcome it?
Our biggest challenge is coping with the consequences of growth. For 30 years, we've been growing with very little mitigation. The recent vote for the Strategic Growth Initiative, it was a tight race, but it does show that our community wants more mitigation of the effects of growth. And I think the biggest challenge we have is making that initiative work for the community as the authors of it intended. It can be a very difficult thing, and we've had some very intense conversations about it on council, and we'll continue to have many more. But we need to make the initiative work so that it provides attainable and affordable housing and gives us a chance to catch up on the growth that we have not mitigated.
And I'm going to ask for more of your thoughts on that in just a moment. Would you like to continue? I'm sorry, you still have
No,
time.
that's fine.
All right, great. All right, well, Kara, the same question for you. Largest challenge for the city of Lakewood, and we were talking about growth, and I have another question for both of you about growth. But the largest challenge that you see for the city of Lakewood, and how you would overcome it.
Yeah, so I agree to an extent with Charlie. I do think that the implementation of ballot question 200 is the most important issue facing our city right now. You know, I have knocked a whole lot of doors in Lakewood this year and last year and the year before last and the year before that. You know, it's like there's always someone's campaign. And in Lakewood, people's consistent concerns are traffic congestion, their neighborhoods changing, more crime in their communities, the light rail bringing more homelessness, and kind of these systemic feeling issues that actually are symptoms of growth. And so you know, with a health policy background and a healthcare background, I really understand that we need to be treating the common problem of all of this, which is the growth question. My concern with the way that ballot question 200 was written is that it basically says we no longer can do affordable housing in Lakewood. You know, we, in all of the stakeholder work that I've done, in meeting with our housing authority, and meeting with CHAFA, and meeting with the developers who do tax credit developments for affordable housing, they've said we can no longer develop with this system. And it feels frustrating to me that the stakeholder work wasn't done from the get-go on this, so that we now have to go back and figure out how to implement it in a way that will work for affordability and make sure that we're actually addressing the issues that matter to folks. You know, I am running out of time, so I'll wait for the next growth question to say the rest of it.
All right, well, I knew that we would talk about growth.
I know.
As a reporter, it was a fascinating thing to watch, and we had broad discussions about it here at Lakewood 8 and on other programs, and it's a question that districts and cities across the Front Range, as you know, are dealing with. Colorado is such a popular place, and so many people relocating here, as well as so many businesses relocating here. So we thought this would be a topic that you both would want to discuss at length. So let me read this question from the League of Women Voters. They say, with the passing of Lakewood Question 200, the City Council will be determining the number of allocations available for issuance for each year based on 1% of the number of estimated dwelling units as of December 31st. This is the ordinance, as you know. December 31st, I should say, the previous year. as the equal point, while allowing for any additions of new dwellings, annexations, and exempted projects and subtractions for any destroyed or abandoned dwellings or expired permits. So, the question for you, and Charley, we're back to you. How do you see this challenge affecting the City of Lakewood going forward, and what plans do you see for its implementation as a member of the City Council?
As far as affordable and attainable housing goes, what we're doing now doesn't work, apparently. For the first time in years, we will have a specific number of affordable housing permits that must be issued. It will be up to City Council to determine how many of those permits will go to affordable and attainable housing. And I would like to see Council put the vast majority of those into the affordable pool this year and the following year so that we can catch up on what we have not been doing. All we've been doing is building. We have a new zoning ordinance passed in 2013 that encourages mega apartment buildings at market rate. 200-300 apartments that cost more than the average folks can afford, much less folks with lower incomes. That, I believe, is what drove the Initiative 200 in the first place. And I think that we can use the allocations, the affordable pool, as well as the exemptions for age-restricted housing, income-restricted housing, and the exemptions for redevelopment areas in order to provide a much larger diversity of housing in our city than we have now. Again, what we're doing and what we've done for the past couple of decades has not helped. We are in bad shape when it comes to having affordable housing that our young folks and folks moving into town can afford.
And Kara, as we discussed, same question for you, by the way. And I'll reread the ordinance. I'm sure you're familiar with it, if you would like. But the question is how it will change the City of Lakewood and what plans you would have for its implementation. And we were discussing, the three of us, prior to our broadcast today, that this was something of a surprise, that the city really turned out for this issue. The residents of the city really turned out, and a great deal of money was spent. By the other side still, the citizens prevailed on the opposite side of the issue. So a very passionate issue for a lot of people in Lakewood. But again, my question for you, how do you see it affecting the city? How do you see this change being implemented here? Or do you see the change having a broad effect? And what plans would you have for its implementation?
Yeah. So I actually wasn't surprised with the outcome of this election. In some words, it was close. In some words, it didn't pass. But actually, I expected for this initiative to pass because I've been knocking on the doors and I know that this is the #1 issue for people. This is a real pain point. And for me too, I moved to Lakewood because I wanted land and I wanted it to feel rural and still be close to the city, and I wanted to be close to the mountains. It's like we created a home here and want to raise kids here for a reason. So I wasn't actually surprised by the passage. My frustrations actually are with the lack of stakeholder work that went into writing the proposal. I recently spoke with a Golden City Councilor who has Golden has a similar growth initiative in place, and she said, affordable housing, quote, affordable housing is an incredibly complex problem in Golden. We actually had to exempt all affordable housing developments from our growth limit initiative because we couldn't find any other way to make progress, end quote. So when we're talking about an initiative like this, and we say we have allocations for affordable housing, and we say we have allocations for senior housing, and then we talk to CHAFA, and we talk to the Housing Authority, who, by the way, I believe has been doing an incredibly great job. I think Metro West Housing is superb, and they've done incredible developments in our community and have really tried to bring folks together in order to make affordability a priority in our communities. Which is an aside, but I think it's an important aside. But the problem here for me is that when all of the housing experts in Colorado say, we didn't get a phone call about this, we didn't get meetings about this, and you guys wrote a policy that makes it so that we can no longer get tax credits in order to make our developments happen, that feels like bad leadership to me. I think that as a city councilor, I'm really, really dedicated to making sure that we bring everyone to the table in order to make these kinds of really complicated decisions, because it isn't black and white, and we need to be able to see all sides of a really complicated issue before we put a policy in place.
I guess I should clarify, as a reporter, I was pretty surprised, a lot of the polling was going the opposite direction. But clearly, maybe not a surprise to you either, Charley. But so I think we now are very clear on where the two of you stand on the growth issue. So given that, let me ask you, what do you think makes Lakewood such a wonderful place to live?
Oh, our community members. Our neighbors are the best you can find anywhere. We have had a great emphasis on open space and parks. We have broad avenues, a tree canopy over most of the city. We are a sustainable city and a diverse city as well. I think though that our primary strength is the people that live here. We have folks who, before the Colfax Marathon, they go clean, they take large bags, trash bags with them, and walk up and down Colfax and the marathon course and pick up the trash, and they're just happy to do so. We have great spirit of volunteerism in Lakewood. We have a public safety record that is outshines any other city in the metro area. We have great schools. We have great sports programs. Our middle school sports program is unique. It is large. It's funded mostly by our cities in the county, and it gives our kids opportunities. Opportunity for our kids is what will shape our future. And I think Lakewood and its environment and its emphasis on recreation and our community working together, that's what makes us what we are, and that's what we want to retain in our city.
Kira, your opinion?
I totally agree. It's
hard to disagree with Charley on that point, no question.
It is. I mean, this is the most incredible community. It really is. Charley and I are both from the South, and I'm from Mobile, Alabama originally. I think you're a Texas boy, yes? We can hear it in your accent. And there was something really magical to me about growing up in the South, because the community really came together. You'd move into a neighborhood and everyone would throw a block party and have baked goods at your house for a week. Or, when we'd have deaths in our neighbors' families, everyone brought food over. And when I moved to Colorado, I originally moved to Castle Rock, and I really felt a fragment of that sort of community. I felt like it was a Colorado thing, not a Castle Rock thing, and that, I had left this home behind. And when I moved to Lakewood, it was the South again. This is a community of folks who are incredibly dedicated to each other's well-being. I have neighbors in my old neighborhood in Bonneview, which I think is close to where Charley is, that, when there's an elderly person in the neighborhood, we would all take turns checking in on them just to make sure they're okay. And, these kinds of things that are really, that make you feel like you're home, that's Lakewood. He's absolutely right. We've got great education systems. We've got incredible parents who care a lot about making sure that their kids have the best education possible and continue to advocate for that. We have an award-winning sustainability program, which again is a neighborhood program. We've got neighbors coming together to create sustainability initiatives for the city. And we have an incredible arts district, which is new. We have open space. We've got the mountains close by. I mean, there's nowhere better in the world to live. So I'm not biased.
I'm from another community, but I agree. I sense the pride of having done this program, a program for Lakewood 8 now for a couple of years. There is a great sense of community here. Another question from the league. What challenges, if any, do you anticipate as the Lakewood 2025 Moving Forward Comprehensive Plan approaches its completion dates during your term?
The challenges we have are mostly economic. Our projected revenue is down 6% this year. Our comp plan is based on a on the thoughts of hundreds of folks that worked for 3 years to compile it and the new zoning ordinance. The sustainability program is a big part of that. And our sustainability program is coordinated by our Director of Development Assistance, the Planning Director. I think in order to make the comp plan more effective and to complete its goals, I'd like to see the Sustainability Department become its own agency with its own direction as opposed to being directed by the Development Assistance Coordinator. The two things, development and sustainability, can work hand in hand, but they can also have opposite goals. We also need more buy-in from the community on the comp plan's other provisions, including parks and open space. And we need a larger effort to provide the kinds of recreational opportunities and volunteer opportunities that will help bring that comp plan to fruition.
Are you kicking Charley? Shame on you.
I'm accustomed to it.
You're sitting right over a leg, and I apologize
Yes,
for that. I know.
Fine.
Again, and for you, Kara, do you anticipate, what changes, if any, do you anticipate as the Lakewood 2025 Moving Forward Comprehensive Plan approaches its completion dates during your term?
Yeah, I think similarly to the beginning of what Charley said, we are primarily a sales tax funded city. And so making sure that our business economy is really strong is something that's going to have to be a priority for city councilors. You know, we have a number of business improvement districts that are doing really incredible work. And some of those are in blighted areas, which are exempted in our ballot question 200. So we've got some opportunity there, I think, to continue redevelopment in places like West Colfax and continue to make sure that we are prioritizing our local businesses and making sure that, you know, as Amazon gets easier and easier to shop on, as I am a victim to, that we continue to prioritize going to our local businesses and making sure that we're adding to the sales tax income for our city, so that as projections come in low, we know how to deal with that. I think the other things that are important to be thinking about and that we'll need to be thinking about are our senior resources. You know, we have an incredible senior resource center, and we've got the Meals on Wheels programs and Lakewood Rides programs, but we do have a last mile problem for seniors, and making sure that when we're thinking about a comprehensive plan, that we're thinking about those last mile issues for folks, so that if we have people who can't drive, they still can get to the grocery store or to church or to their grandkids' house or wherever they want to go, and that they can age how they would like to age in our community. I agree that sustainability is a huge issue for this community, and I think continuing to fund our sustainability program and giving them more ability to take big action, because climate change is an actual threat in this community and in all communities, and so making sure that that's also a huge priority.
All right, thank you both. And time now for your closing statements, and each of you will have 1 minute. And Kara, this time you get to speak first. Your closing statement, if you will.
I will. As you know, this is an incredibly important time for Lakewood. As we both talked about, we just passed an incredibly complex growth initiative, and we're the 5th most populous city in Colorado. So we really need leadership right now who know how to bring stakeholders together and who know how to make our community's health, our community's way of life, parks and open space, you know, the things that really matter to Lakewood residents, how to make those things a priority while bringing everybody together and making sure that everyone's voice is heard, not just some. I want to make sure that no family has to go through what my patient Maria's family had to go through. I want to make sure that our kids and our grandkids have a better quality of life than even we had. And I will fight for high quality transit-oriented development in the areas where we need it, like West Colfax Corridor. I'll fight to expand and implement our sustainability program. I'll work on the purchasing of more parks in Ward 1 because we need them. I think we can both agree there aren't enough parks in Ward 1. And I'll keep our local business economy strong so that we can look into our future with hope. You know, I will listen deeply to your thoughts, your concerns, and your ideas. So I hope this November you vote Kira Degree for City Council in Ward 1.
Kira, thank you very much. Charley?
My friends, I am part of Lakewood's independent majority on City Council, the first independent council majority in 30 years. I have no party allegiances. My only allegiance is to our community. I've tried to strike a balance to unify an often divided City Council, to find solutions that benefit our entire community. And now again, I'm asking for your vote, for your continued confidence that I will work for you, that I will be a diligent decision maker, one who is accessible and responsive. I am Charley Abel, and I want to ensure that your voice will be heard.
And thanks to the candidates from Ward 1, Charley Abel and Kira Degree. Election Day is November the 5th. All active voters will be mailed a ballot between October 14th and October 18th. For your convenience, there will be an outside ballot drop-off box on the west side of the Civic Center located at 480 South Allison Parkway. If you choose to mail your ballot, be sure that it is mailed early enough to ensure that it arrives by the deadline on Tuesday, November 5th. For more drop-off box locations as well as the nearest polling centers, go online to jeffco.us/elections. For candidate and ballot information, please consider using vote411.org, the online voter's guide, which will be available starting on October 8th, 2019. This guide provides a side-by-side comparison of the candidates for all of the Colorado races. Thank you for watching.